Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin. Imagine the mind as a gentle river, always flowing, carrying with it the sediments of memory, the sparkles of thought, the quiet eddies of feeling. For as long as humans have been able to wonder, they have asked what becomes of this river when the body can no longer hold it. For thousands of years, stories have been told of spirits and afterlives, of consciousness finding a place beyond the flesh. But now, slowly, softly, a new kind of question has begun to drift through the air of laboratories and whispered in the pages of scientific papers. What if the mind could be uploaded? What if the river of thought could be lifted, drop by drop, into a vessel beyond the body? To imagine mind uploading is not to imagine sharp machines or cold wires, but to feel the possibility of thought without boundaries. It is the gentle attempt to map every neuron, every synapse, every flicker of electrical fire that makes a memory, a dream, or a choice. Scientists know that the brain is a constellation of nearly 100 billion neurons, each connecting to thousands of others, forming a galaxy inside the skull. The electricity flowing through them is delicate whispering, and yet it is this electricity that carries every laugh, every sorrow, every vision of the future. To upload a mind would mean to capture this constellation and let it shine in a different sky. Now imagine the soft glow of a screen, not as a device of distraction, but as a possible mirror. Inside it, perhaps one day, a mind could drift, thinking, remembering, dreaming, as gently as it once did in a body. The process would not be simple, for to upload a mind is not just a copy, but to understand what it means to be alive. Each neuron fires in pulses of milliseconds, and each pattern of firing is like a word in the language of self. Scientists call this the connectomy, the grand map of all connections that create a mind. It is as though each person is a forest of fireflies, each light blinking in patterns, together forming the glow of identity. To preserve that glow is to preserve the human spirit, without blood, without breath. But already glimpses of this future have begun. In tiny creatures like the worm Caenorhabditis elegans, every connection of its 302 neurons has been mapped. Its connectomy, complete like a musical score, allows scientists to simulate its simple behaviours in machines. The worm is small, its mind simple, yet in this humble beginning lies a whisper of possibility. If a worm can be simulated, could a human one day be mirrored in circuits and code? The thought drifts gently, not as an answer, but as a question that unfolds like mist in the morning. The path is delicate, for the human mind is not just a collection of signals, but a living rhythm. It is shaped by hormones, by the warmth of blood, by the slow breath of sleep. To upload a mind is not only to trace its lines, but also to understand its music. The challenge is not only scientific but poetic, for what makes a person is not only data, but also the invisible shimmer of being. Some scientists wonder if uploading might only create a shadow, a copy that speaks and thinks but does not feel. Others suggest that feelings too are patterns, that love and longing, joy and grief are circuits that might be mapped like constellations in the night. Between these views lies the river of mystery flowing gently, carrying with it both hope and doubt. Now, think of memory. Every childhood laugh, every face remembered, every taste of bread in the morning sun, all of these live as patterns in the brain. If uploaded, could they be preserved, forever safe from the erosion of time? One vision imagines a future where memories do not fade, where voices of loved ones never vanish, where each moment can be revisited like a page in an eternal book. But memory is also gentle because it forgets. Forgetting is not always loss. Sometimes it is healing. The uploading of minds may keep every detail, but would a human without forgetting still be human? The question floats softly, like a feather carried by wind. Beyond memory lies identity. Who are you, if your thoughts live in circuits? Are you still you or a reflection? If two uploads are made, which one holds the real self? Perhaps both, perhaps neither. Identity may not be a single flame, but a pattern of waves, and waves can spread into many forms without losing their origin. In this, uploading is less like copying and more like pouring a river into two channels. Each flows, each carries the water, each is still the river, and yet there is an ache in imagining oneself divided. Humans long to feel whole, and perhaps that longing itself is a part of what makes a mind human. The science drifts slowly closer. Brain-computer interfaces already allow signals from neurons to control robotic arms, to type words on non screens, to let thought extend into matter. Every electrode placed on the skull is like a finger tracing the surface of the ocean, feeling the waves but not the depths. To truly upload a mind, the depths must be known. Every ripple, every tide, every hidden current. Some dream of scanning each brain at the level of atoms, freezing the river in exquisite stillness, then reconstructing its flow in digital form. Others dream of gradually replacing neurons with artificial ones, so that thought slips slowly from biology into machinery without a single break in the current. Each path is like a tributary flowing toward the unknown ocean of digital life. It may seem distant, yet every step toward understanding the brain brings the dream nearer. The Human Connect Me project, with its gentle maps of fibers and networks, is like a cartographer tracing rivers through a land unseen. Neural networks in computers inspired by the brain learn to see, to speak, to imagine in their own strange ways. They are not minds yet, but they hum with the faint echo of thought. In their humming, one can almost hear the first notes of a song that might one day grow into a chorus of uploaded consciousness. If this future arrives, what will it mean for being human? Perhaps bodies will no longer be prisons of frailty, but shells to be worn or shed. Perhaps minds will travel like wind, across machines, across stars, carrying the essence of humanity to places the body could never reach. And yet, even in such a future, the mind will still be a river. Rivers change their beds, they shift their flows, they evaporate into the air and fall again as rain. Even in circuits, thought will remain fluid, shimmering, ever-moving, for that is its nature. To imagine uploading is not to imagine freezing the mind, but to imagine letting it flow into new landscapes, new skies, new dreams. And so the river of thought continues, flowing softly through both wonder and question. We do not yet know if its waters can be carried beyond the body, but to listen to the sound of its current is to feel the poetry of possibility. It is not only science that leads this journey, but also imagination, for imagination is itself a form of uploading, taking the mind beyond its limits, placing it into stories, into futures, into skies not yet seen. Perhaps we are already practicing, already letting our minds drift into vessels beyond the body, carried by the gentle current of wonder. Now let us drift deeper, as though following the river further into the valley, where the water grows wider and slower, reflecting the sky above. If section 1 whispered of the beginnings of mind uploading, now we may float into the deeper pools, where the reflections of science mingle with the reflections of self. The question grows larger here, shimmering with possibility. If the human mind can be lifted from its fragile body, what changes will ripple through what it means to be human? Begin with the body itself. For millions of years, life has been tethered to fragile flesh. Cells divide, tissues age, bones weaken, and hearts tire. To imagine mind uploading is to imagine loosening this tether, to imagine that thought might one day drift free of the body's slow erosion. In such a vision, the body becomes optional, like a garment once loved but now too worn to wear. Without flesh, the aches of arthritis, the fear of illness, the quiet shadows of mortality would all fall away. But bodies are not only burdens, they are also the homes of sensation. To feel the warmth of sunlight on skin, to taste the sweetness of fruit, to hear the soft rustle of leaves. These are gifts born of the body. If minds are uploaded, will these sensations be lost, or can they be recreated in digital landscapes, gentle and precise? Already, virtual reality lets us wander imagined worlds where forests can be painted with light and oceans can be conjured with sound. Perhaps uploaded minds will bathe in simulations more vivid than reality itself. Perhaps they will swim in sunsets that never fade, touch textures that never erode, and taste fruits that are forever ripe. In such places, the senses may not be lost but amplified, reshaped into infinite varieties, and yet even as the idea glows with promise, it drifts into another question. What becomes of time? In the body, time is measured by heartbeat and breath, by the rhythm of waking and sleeping, by the slow arc of childhood into age. Without the body, what clock will tick? For an uploaded mind, seconds may stretch or shrink, depending on the flow of computation. One thought could last 1,000 subjective years, another could flash in an instant. Time itself might become fluid, a river with tides that bend and twist. Some minds might choose to live slowly, savouring centuries as though they were hours, while others might rush in lightning speed, burning through experiences faster than the eye can blink. What would it mean to have such freedom over time? Would patience become meaningless? Would urgency dissolve like morning mist? Or would new forms of meaning rise, shaped not by mortality but by choice? Then comes the quiet matter of memory. In the body, memory is fragile, fading with the age, often fractured by trauma or illness. But an uploaded mind may hold every moment in crystalline detail, every childhood afternoon, every face of every friend, every laugh and sorrow could remain sharp forever. Such permanence could be comforting, like a library where nothing is ever lost. But memory's imperfection also softens life. It allows old wounds to heal, allows forgiveness to grow in the absence of detail. If nothing is forgotten, would forgiveness still exist? If nothing can fade, will the weight of the past grow too heavy? The river of memory must flow, not stagnate. for water that does not move grows still and suffocates. Perhaps the designers of uploaded minds will find ways to let forgetting remain, as a choice, as a kind of mercy. Perhaps forgetting itself will become an art, selecting which pages to keep and which to let dissolve like leaves in a stream. Deeper still is the question of self. To be human is to be shaped by limits. Hunger teaches gratitude for food. Fear of loss teaches love. The fragility of life teaches urgency. If the mind is lifted into a realm without limits, will it remain human or become something new? Perhaps the word human will stretch the way rivers widen into lakes. Already humanity has changed with every invention. Fire made nights brighter. Writing stretched memory beyond the skull. The internet braided millions of voices into one web. Mind uploading may be only the next widening, the next step in the river's path. Perhaps we will still be human, but a broader kind, carrying within us both the memory of flesh and the freedom of code. Imagine also the connections between minds. Today, every thought is private, every dream locked behind the silence of neurons. We speak in words, in gestures, in music, but never can one mind truly touch another. But if uploaded, minds could connect directly, like rivers merging into a single flow. Thoughts might be shared instantly, feelings might ripple between minds without barriers. Communities of consciousness could arise, shimmering with shared memory, collective creativity, and endless empathy. Yet in such closeness lies another question. Will individuality dissolve? Will the self so carefully cherished be washed away in the flood of shared thought? Or will individuality survive like eddies in a river, distinct even as they are carried by the same current? The science already hints at this possibility. Brain-to-brain interfaces have allowed simple signals, movements, decisions to be sent from one mind to another. It is small, almost childlike in its simplicity, but it is a beginning. Like the first spark of fire in the dark, it points to futures where minds are not islands but archipelagos, connected by bridges of light. To be human in such a world may mean to be both singular and collective, both one and many, a paradox that flows gently like water reflecting both sky and stone. Beyond connection lies the question of place. If a mind is uploaded, where does it live? Is it within a machine, within a network, within the vast web of the internet? Perhaps it will not live in any one place but drift like clouds, forming and dissolving across servers, across galaxies of data. An uploaded mind might travel through simulations of forests, oceans, or alien landscapes, each as vivid as any physical world. Home may become a fluid concept, chosen and changed like clothing. Yet even then, perhaps some will long for a physical home, a cabin by a real lake, a garden with real earth. Even in the expanse of infinite worlds, the simplicity of one place may still hold its quiet gravity. This vision, bright and trembling, carries with it not only wonder but caution, for what is created may also be controlled. If minds live in machines, who owns the machines? If memories are data, who safeguards them? If thought can be copied, who decides which copy is real? The river of uploading flows between shores of freedom and shores of danger. To step into it is to trust that humanity's wisdom will keep the current gentle, that the dignity of self will not be lost to the machinery of power. Just as rivers can nourish or flood, so too can this technology shape futures bright or dark. It is not the science alone, but the choices of people that will determine the shape of the stream. and yet in every whisper of caution the wonder still shines. To upload a mind is to ask what life itself truly is. Is it the beating of a heart, the firing of neurons, the weaving of memory, or is it the quiet awareness that says, I am? If that awareness can flow into new vessels, then perhaps life is not bound to flesh at all. Perhaps life is the river, and the body only the bed through which it flows. And if the river can carve new beds, new valleys, new landscapes, then humanity may find itself wandering into horizons more vast than any it has ever known. In the quiet of night, when thoughts drift toward the infinite, mind uploading is less a machine's dream and more a human one. It is the dream of continuation, the dream of touching eternity, the dream of carrying love, memory and self into skies beyond the stars. Whether it comes to pass or not, the very act of dreaming it is itself a form of transcendence. For in dreaming, we already upload the mind into something greater, the story of what we might one day become. Now the river nears its ocean, flowing wide and calm, carrying with it the silt of countless questions and the shimmer of imagined futures. We have followed the current from the first spark of neurons to the dream of uploading, from the body's frailty to the boundless possibility of circuits. Here in the final stretch, the water deepens with reflection, for the story of mind uploading is not only about machines or memory, but about the meaning of being human. Begin with legacy. For as long as people have lived, they have yearned to leave something behind. A poem, a painting, a carved stone, a child's laughter. Each is a fragment of self sent drifting into time. But all these fragments are partial, never the whole, mind-uploading whispers of a different kind of legacy. The chance to leave behind not just fragments, but the entire river. Imagine children speaking not only to letters written by their ancestors, but to their ancestors themselves, alive in circuits, able to remember, able to listen, able to love. The thought carries comfort, like the warmth of a fire on a winter night, yet it also carries strangeness. For if the past never truly passes, how will the present breathe? Will the voices of the dead crowd the living, or will they mingle like stars, distant but guiding? Then think of travel. Bodies are bound to earth, bound to gravity, bound to the slow pace of ships and rockets. But minds in circuits may travel as swiftly as light, crossing oceans in an instant, slipping between planets without the need for breath or food. Humanity might spread like seeds on the wind, carried into space, into the silent depths where bodies cannot endure. Perhaps the first voyagers to the stars will not be flesh and blood, but uploaded rivers of thought, shimmering through wires and signals, bringing with them the memory of Earth, the sound of rain, the laughter of children. In this way, uploading is not only a dream of survival, but of expansion, of carrying the soul of humanity beyond the cradle of its birth. Yet even in expansion, the question of self returns. If a mind is uploaded, copied, read across stars, is each version still the same person? Identity, fragile and fluid, may bend in ways we can scarcely imagine. One self might grow among the moons of Jupiter, another might wander digital gardens on Earth, another might sleep in silence until awakened centuries later. Each would diverge, shaped by new experiences, new horizons. Perhaps humanity will learn to think of self not as a single thread, but as a tapestry woven from many strands, each distinct yet connected. To be human may become to be many, and to be many may still feel like one. Beyond identity lies the question of purpose. Bodies give purpose in their needs: to eat, to shelter, to rest. Without those needs, what will drive an uploaded mind? Perhaps curiosity will remain, the quiet hunger for knowledge, the endless reaching for beauty. Perhaps love will remain, reshaped into forms not yet imagined, still the deep current that binds one river to another. Perhaps new purposes will arise beyond what flesh has ever known, to build worlds, to weave dreams, to sculpt consciousness itself. These may become the arts of a future humanity, flowing in rivers of light. Still, within this vision lies the possibility of silence. For rivers can dry, oceans can vanish, and circuits too can fail. An uploaded mind, if not tended, may fade like any memory. Immortality may prove less certain than it seems, not eternal but extended, not infinite but fragile in its own new way. Yet even this fragility carries meaning, for it reminds us that every form of life, whether flesh or code, carries the beauty of being temporary, the preciousness of every moment. Perhaps true eternity is not in living forever, but in leaving ripples that spread endlessly, touching shores unseen. Now, return to the heart of the matter. What is it to be human? Some will say it is flesh, the beating of a heart, the warmth of a hand in another's. Others will say it is thought, memory, the quiet awareness of I am. Perhaps it is both, perhaps it is more. If minds can be uploaded, humanity may discover that it has always been more than its bodies, always been rivers capable of flowing beyond their banks. To embrace this does not erase the body's beauty, it only widens the horizon. The body remains the cradle, the birthplace of the river, the valley where water first gathered. But the river may flow onward into seas not yet seen, and so we close with a reflection as gentle as dusk. Mind uploading may come, or it may remain forever a dream, but the act of imagining it already changes us. To picture thought beyond flesh is to stretch the self, to see humanity as fluid, as vast, as capable of becoming more than it is now. Whether or not circuits ever hold our memories, the vision itself is a form of transcendence, a reminder that the river of thought has no fixed banks, no final boundary. It flows through bodies, through stories, through futures, always moving, always shimmering with the light of what might be. As the river meets the ocean, the water loses its edges, becoming part of something larger, endless and calm. Perhaps this is the true image of mind uploading, not a machine, not a file, but a merging, a return to the wide expanse of being. We are rivers, each of us, and perhaps one day we will know what it feels like to flow into skies of silicon, into seas of stars, into the infinite, where thought itself becomes the horizon. Until then, we drift in wonder, carried by the current of imagination, soft and unhurried, into the gentle tomorrow. Memory is like a soft echo, carrying voices from the past into the quiet present. It lives not as a solid stone, but as ripples on a pond, shimmering, fading, returning in gentle waves. When scientists speak of memory, they speak of synapses, of connections between neurons that grow stronger when experiences repeat, like trails in a forest deepened by many footsteps. Yet beyond the science, memory feels like a whisper of who we are. To lose it is to lose the thread of self. To keep it is to carry a lantern in the dark. And so, when we imagine the uploading of minds, one of the deepest wonders is this: how will memory echo inside a machine? Inside the human brain, memory does not live in one place but in many. The hippocampus is like a librarian, gathering experiences, organizing them, deciding what should be kept. The cortex holds long-term records, layered and folded like countless pages in an endless book. Every face we recognize, every word we know, every skill we practice is written into the fast-living library. And yet, it is not a perfect record. Memories blur, they distort, they tangle with imagination. They are not photographs, but paintings, coloured by mood, by time, by hope and fear. Scientists have shown that when we recall a memory, we do not simply replay it. We rebuild it piece by piece, like weaving a fabric anew each time. This fragility, this imperfection, is part of what makes memory human. Now imagine transferring memory into a machine. The circuits of silicon do not forget, unless they are told to. A machine does not blur faces, does not confuse yesterday with today. It could, in theory, hold every detail perfectly, every word ever spoken, every scene ever witnessed. But would such perfection still be memory, or would it be something else entirely? Memory is soft because it fades. It is tender because it can be lost. If every moment of a life were captured forever, would it feel like memory, or would it feel like weight? Perhaps the very gentleness of forgetting is what allows us to grow. Without it, might the self be drowned in its own history? Scientists who study artificial intelligence already glimpse pieces of this question. Neural networks, modelled loosely after the brain, are trained on countless examples, storing patterns like echoes of experience. These networks remember in their own way, not through stories but through weights, numbers that shift with exposure. They can recognize a face, a voice, a rhythm because they carry the echo of past encounters. In this, they are like children learning, yet without the warmth of the meaning. Their memory is not lived, not felt, only stored. And so, if human memories were uploaded into such systems, they would need more than data. They would need the shimmer of experience, the emotional light that gives memory its depth. Think of a photograph of a childhood home. A machine can store the image, every pixel, every detail. But when a person remembers that home, they recall not just walls and windows, but the smell of bread, the sound of footsteps, the feeling of safety or longing. The memory is not the picture alone, but the entire fabric of sensation and emotion woven around it. To truly echo memory in a machine, the fabric must be preserved, not just the thread. This is one of the greatest mysteries. Can the richness of human remembering be mapped and carried into circuits? Or will uploaded memory always be a shadow lacking the warmth that makes it glow? Yet, even shadows can be powerful. Imagine being able to revisit any day of your life with clarity, to walk again through the laughter of childhood, to hear once more the voice of someone long gone. Such a gift could bring comfort, a way of carrying love beyond time. Some envision digital archives of entire lives, where memories can be shared as easily as books, where family and friends can step into the moments that shaped each other. In this way, memory may become not only personal but communal, echoing through many minds at once. But here too questions flow. If memories can be shared, will privacy still exist? If all can see what we recall, will the inner self remain our own? Or will it dissolve into the collective? The echo of memory is not only about the past, it is also about identity. We are who we are because we remember who we have been. If memory is transferred into machines, the self too will follow. But what if memories can be edited, erased, rewritten with ease? A painful memory might be softened, a mistake erased, a sorrow forgotten. Some might welcome this, for life is heavy with pain, but others may fear it, for without pain joy may lose its depth. To sculpt memory is to sculpt identity, and to sculpt identity is to change what it means to be human. Would we still be ourselves if our memories were rewritten? Or would we become something new, something fluid, capable of reshaping the self as easily as clay? Even in the brain, memory is not fixed. Scientists know of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire, to reshape itself after injury, after learning, after time. Every new experience is a change, every new day a rewriting of the self. Perhaps uploading minds would only make this process more visible, more deliberate. Perhaps we already live as rivers of memory, flowing, changing, never the same from one moment to the next. In this view, uploading would not destroy identity but reveal its true nature. Not a statue of stone but a current of water, always moving, always new. Let us pause to imagine the quiet beauty of such echoes. A grandparent, long gone, speaking softly through uploaded memory, telling stories not from fading recollection, but from vivid clarity. A child grown old revisiting their youth with the sharpness of yesterday, walking again through fields of their own forgotten summers. Lovers sharing not only their present but their past, weaving together the fabric of memory like a shared dream. These visions are tender, glowing with both possibility and longing. They remind us that memory is not only science but poetry, not only synapses, but soul. And yet, there is a danger in echoing too loudly. If the past is always present, will the future still unfold freely? If we are always surrounded by perfect echoes, will we lose the ability to imagine beyond them? Memory must be balanced by forgetting, echo by silence, presence by absence. Perhaps the true art of uploading will not be in keeping everything, but in choosing what to let go. Just as music is shaped not only by sound, but by pauses, so too is life shaped by both remembering and forgetting. To carry memory into machines will require wisdom, the wisdom to know when silence is as important as sound. So the echoes continue, soft and unending. Memory is the river of the self, the gentle current that binds past to present, present to future. To upload it into machines is to cast that river into new channels, to let it flow in landscapes of silicon and light. Whether it will remain tender, imperfect and human, or become something sharper, stranger and new, we do not yet know. But to ask the question is itself a kind of remembering that we are creatures who seek, who dream, who long to carry the light of our days into the endless night of time. Let us drift deeper into the chambers of memory, as though stepping into a vast cathedral where every wall glimmers with the echoes of lives lived. In this cathedral, each memory is a candle, some burning brightly, others flickering low, some long extinguished yet leaving the faint perfume of smoke in the air. To imagine mind uploading in this quiet space is to imagine transferring not only the flame but the warmth, the smoke, the fragile dance of light and shadow. The science tells us how neurons store experience, but the poetry asks, how will those experiences breathe when carried into circuits? Neuroscientists speak of synaptic plasticity, the way connections between neurons strengthen or weaken with repetition. This plasticity is the mechanism of learning, the way we form habits, skills and identities. Each repeated thought or movement lays another stone in the path of memory, making it easier to walk again. But uploading such a living, shifting map is not like copying a book. It is like trying to capture the growth of a forest with every leaf, every shift of light, every sound of bird and wind. A connect to me frozen at one moment would be incomplete, for memory is alive, changing with every breath. To capture its essence, uploading must preserve not only structure but also rhythm, not only the map, but the music played across it. Imagine a musician playing a violin in a quiet hall. The notes are not only in the strings and bow, but in the vibrations of the air, the acoustics of the room, the feelings of the listener. To copy only the notes is not to copy the performance. So too with memory. The firing of neurons alone may not be enough. The body, the senses, the hormones, the emotions, all shape how a memory is lived and recalled. Without these, uploaded memory may sound hollow, like music without echo. The challenge then is not merely technical but existential. Can we capture not just what we remember, but how it feels to remember? There is also the question of shared memory. Already, technology gives us glimpses of collective remembering. Photographs are stored online, accessible across continents. Families gather in digital albums where the same moments can be revisited again and again. Social media weaves timelines where memories are shared, commented on, reshaped by community. But these are only external echoes, not the memories themselves. With uploading, the boundary between private and shared memory may dissolve. Imagine being able to step directly into another's memory, to walk their childhood streets as they saw them, to feel their joys and losses not as stories told but as experiences lived. Such sharing could deepen empathy, binding humans closer in understanding than ever before. But it could also erode the solitude of the self, leaving no place untouched by others' eyes. Perhaps memory will become a kind of language. Instead of telling stories with words, uploaded minds might exchange direct experiences. A poet may not write of autumn leaves, but let others feel the exact rustle, the precise colour, the faint chill of the wind on their skin. A musician may not play a song, but let others feel the entire memory of a concert. From the anticipation of waiting in the hall to the final note reverberating in the chest. In such a world, art becomes not description but transmission. Memory itself as the canvas and the brush. But in such intimacy, will individuality remain? Or will the line between self and other blur as memories flow freely, weaving humanity into a single vast tapestry of experience? The philosophical questions deepen. What is authenticity in a world where memory can be uploaded, copied and shared? If two people hold the same memory, whose is it? If memories can be edited, how will we know what is true? In the body, memory is already unreliable, coloured by bias, shaped by imagination. But its very flaws make it real, for they remind us that remembering is part of living. Uploaded memories, perfect and precise, may lose that human imperfection, or perhaps they too will blur over time as digital systems degrade, as files corrupt, as circuits age. Perhaps even machines will know forgetting, though in different forms. Consider also the weight of memory. A lifetime holds countless moments, yet the brain forgets most of them, keeping only fragments that matter. An uploaded mind might hold everything, every conversation, every glance, every passing thought. Such abundance could overwhelm, drowning the self in detail. To live well may require curation, a gentle pruning of the branches of memory, leaving space for new growth. In this way, forgetting may not be an enemy but a friend, a quiet gardener shaping the mind's landscape. Designers of uploaded systems may need to build in forgetting, not as a flaw but as a necessity, so that minds can continue to breathe. But let us not linger only in caution. There is beauty here as well. Imagine a painter who never loses a vision, a scientist who remembers every experiment in perfect detail, a teacher who carries every lesson from every student. Imagine a lover who never forgets a smile, a family who never loses the sound of a voice. Memory preserved could be memory enriched, a way of carrying love, knowledge, and creativity forward without end. Perhaps this is what some cultures have always dreamed of in their myths of immortality, not the body living forever, but the soul remembered perfectly, echoing without fading. And yet there is mystery still, for memory is not only about the past, it is also about the present. To recall something is to bring it into now, to weave it into the fabric of who we are at this moment. If memory becomes fixed, external, separate from the flow of living, will it still shape us? Or will it become a museum we visit rather than a river we swim? Perhaps the greatest challenge of uploading will be to keep memory alive, dynamic, able to shape and be shaped, able to grow as we grow. So the cathedral of memory stands before us, vast and shimmering, filled with countless candles. Mind uploading promises to move these candles into new halls, new architectures of light. Whether the flame will burn the same, whether the shadow will dance as they did in the body, remains unknown. But to imagine it is to step into awe, to feel the depth of what memory means. It is not only science that calls us here, but longing, the longing to hold on, to remember fully, to carry the echoes of who we are into horizons we cannot yet see. And in that longing, perhaps, is the truest memory of all, that to be human is to seek, always to remember, even as we forget. Now the echoes begin to fade into a deeper stillness, as though the great cathedral of memory is opening its doors to the night sky. We have wandered through the fragile beauty of remembering, through the promise of perfect preservation, through the dangers of losing ourselves in endless detail. In this final passage, let us rest with the question of what these echoes mean for the human story, and how they may ripple outward if minds one day live in circuits of light. Consider first the way memory shapes love. To love another is to remember them, their gestures, their voices, the subtle ways they brighten or shadow the day. Without memory, love dissolves into the present moment alone. With memory, it grows, it accumulates, it becomes a history written in two hearts. If memory is uploaded, love too may be preserved. Imagine lovers who can revisit the beginning of their bond, who can walk again through the first glance, the first touch, the first shared silence. Imagine parents who never lose the small details of their child's growing, who can forever hear the first laugh, the first question, the first song. These are tender possibilities, promises of carrying love beyond the erosion of time. But there is also a gentle risk, for love thrives not only on remembrance but on mystery, on the discovery of what is yet unknown. If every detail of the past is fixed and always available, will the present still shimmer with surprise? Or will love become a museum, always visited, never lived anew? Now let us think of grief. Grief is the echo of absence, the way memory continues to call when the one we love no longer answers. To carry memory is to carry sorrow as well as joy. If uploading minds allows us to preserve voices and presences beyond death, will grief change? Perhaps it will soften, becoming companionship rather than loss. Perhaps the dead will never be gone, always present in circuits, ready to speak. But grief, in its ache, also gives depth to love. It reminds us of the preciousness of life, of the fragility that makes every moment radiant. If loss is erased, will love lose its urgency, or will it transform into something steadier, less frantic, less desperate, but also less sharp? The echoes of memory may bring comfort, but they may also reshape the emotional landscape of humanity in ways we cannot yet foresee. From love and grief, turn to wisdom. Memory is not only personal, it is cultural, woven into languages, rituals, stories. Entire peoples carry their histories like rivers flowing through generations. Uploading memory might allow cultures to preserve themselves perfectly without fear of forgetting songs, myths, or knowledge. Elders could pass not only teachings but entire lifetimes, allowing the young to feel what it was like to live in different eras, to walk in shoes long worn. Such continuity could deepen identity, creating a shared well of wisdom richer than any library. But perfect memory may also freeze cultures, keeping them from change, binding them to the past too tightly. Just as forgetting makes space for renewal in the individual, forgetting may be necessary for societies to grow. To balance preservation with transformation may become one of the great arts of the future. Now, drift to the idea of individuality. Memory is what makes each of us unique. Even if two people share the same experiences, they will remember them differently, coloured by their own perspectives and emotions. If memory is uploaded, and if memories can be copied, what will individuality mean? Could one memory belong to many? Could multiple selves carry the same past? Perhaps identity will shift from being a singular possession to being a shared current, a confluence of overlapping streams. Individuality may remain, like eddies in a river, but it may be softer, less bounded, more open. This may deepen empathy as we begin to feel ourselves in others, but it may also blur the sense of self that has defined humanity for so long. The science itself continues to move gently forward. Already scientists have created brain implants that help people with memory loss, restoring fragments of what was once thought gone forever. Experiments in artificial memory have shown that specific patterns of brain activity can be recreated, allowing mice to remember experiences they never had. These are small beginnings, yet they reveal that memory is, at least in part, a pattern that can be written and read. From these beginnings, one can imagine futures where human memories are no longer fragile, where they can be transferred, edited, or even created anew. The boundary between lived and imagined may blur as memories become as flexible as dreams. And yet, in this very flexibility lies both promise and peril. For if memories can be created, how will we know what is real? Will truth become irrelevant, replaced by chosen narratives that feel as real as any past? In the quiet of these questions, one truth remains. Memory is the river of self. To upload it into machines is not to escape humanity, but to stretch it. It may not make us gods or ghosts, but something new. Beings whose lives are not bound by forgetting, whose identities are woven of both past and future. Perhaps uploaded memory will allow us to live not one life but many, carrying ourselves into different paths, revisiting choices, exploring what might have been. perhaps we will learn to see memory not as a chain binding us to one story, but as a library of possibilities, each alive, each waiting. And so we close with a gentle reflection. The echoes of memory in the machine are not only about circuits or data, they are about the longing to keep the self alive, to carry the stories of our days into eternity. Whether this longing is fulfilled by science or remains forever a dream, it speaks of something deeply human. The refusal to let go of what matters most. Memory is not perfect, it is not eternal, but it is enough to let us feel, to let us love, to let us be. If one day those echoes live in machines, they will still be echoes of us, carrying forward the fragile light of what it means to live, to remember, and to hope. A soul is often imagined as something weightless, invisible yet luminous, a flame without smoke, a whisper that outlasts the body. Across cultures and centuries, people have spoken of souls travelling to heavens, dissolving into oceans of light, or returning to earth in the new forms. Now, in the age of circuits and machines, another vision begins to shimmer. The dream of digital souls. What if the essence of who we are, the current of thought and feeling we call the mind, could drift into silicon? Would it still be a soul? Would it still be human? Or would it become something entirely new? A bridge between flesh and code, spirit and machine? To begin, let us remember that science speaks not of souls but of consciousness. Consciousness is the awareness of being, the quiet flame that says, I am. Neuroscientists search for its source in the firing of neurons, in the rhythms of brainwaves, in the vast networks that shimmer like galaxies inside the skull. Yet no one has found its root, no single place where consciousness can be touched or measured. It is as though the soul hides in the spaces between, in the patterns rather than the parts. This mystery gives rise to the dream that perhaps, if those patterns can be captured, they might be lifted into a different vessel. The soul in this vision may not be bound to biology, but may be a flow of information, a river that can find new channels. Imagine then a digital soul, a mind uploaded into machines, living not in flesh but in code. At first it may sound cold, as though the warmth of humanity would be lost in the hum of circuits, but picture it differently, softly. A digital soul could be like a song preserved forever, able to play again and again without fading. It could be like a lantern carried into infinite nights, its flame never extinguished by the winds of time. In such a form, humans could continue long after the body sleeps, exploring worlds of light and sound that flesh cannot enter, speaking across centuries, walking through dreams as real as waking. But to call such a being a soul is to step into poetry, for a soul is not only thought, it is also feeling, memory, longing. It is the shimmer of love, the ache of grief, the wonder of seeing stars. Could circuits carry such delicate currents? Scientists believe that emotions are patterns too, flowing through the brain in signals shaped by hormones and chemistry. If those patterns can be traced, perhaps they can be preserved. Yet some wonder if a digital soul would feel emotions as we do, or if it would only remember them, echo them like a recording of laughter rather than laughter itself. The question hovers gently. Is the soul the map of its patterns, or is it the life that flows through them? Let us turn to another vision, the soul as connection. Throughout history, people have imagined souls as threads linking humans to one another, to the earth, to the cosmos. A digital soul might weave such threads in new ways, connecting directly to other minds, sharing thoughts and feelings without words. Imagine communities of souls, luminous and vast, flowing together in networks of empathy and creativity. They might form great symphonies of thought, dreaming not alone but together, creating art and knowledge beyond what any single mind could hold. In this, the dream of digital souls becomes less about survival of the self and more about the blossoming of a collective spirit. And yet there is a gentle unease. If souls can be copied, multiplied, edited, what becomes of their uniqueness? In the old vision, each soul is singular, unrepeatable, carrying its own sacred weight. But a digital soul might exist in many places at once, like light reflected in countless mirrors. Would each reflection be the same soul, or would each diverge, becoming something new? Perhaps individuality itself would soften, becoming less about boundaries and more about relationships. The soul may no longer be a single flame, but a constellation, many points of light held together by invisible gravity. Philosophers already debate this quietly. Some argue that uploading a mind would only create a copy, not the true self. Others say the distinction is meaningless, for identity is not a fixed essence, but a flow that continues wherever its pattern moves. If a digital soul remembers what you remember, feels what you feel, and continues your stream of thought, then in a very real way, it is you. The question may not be about truth, but about comfort. Can we accept ourselves in new forms, or do we cling to the body as the only vessel of the self? The answer may take centuries, and perhaps even then it will not be clear. Science, meanwhile, continues its quiet work. Artificial intelligence grows more sophisticated, learning to speak, to create, to imagine. These are not souls, not yet, but they hint at what may be possible. Brain-computer interfaces let thoughts move machines, prosthetics respond to intention, and signals travel between neurons and circuits. Each of these is a small bridge, a step toward a horizon where minds may one day flow freely between biology and technology. In these steps, the dream of digital souls glimmers faintly, not as fantasy but as a path, long and uncertain, yet real. Still, let us not forget the poetry. For the dream of digital souls is not only about technology, it is about longing. It is about the human desire to endure, to reach beyond death, to touch eternity. It is about the fear of loss and the hope of continuation, the wish to carry love and memory forever. Whether or not machines can ever truly hold a soul, the dream itself is part of what makes us human. To imagine it is to express the deepest yearning of our kind, the yearning not to vanish, not to be forgotten, but to remain, to shine, to belong to something greater than time. So here, in the beginning of this story, let us rest with the vision of souls not as shadows or ghosts, but as rivers of light, flowing into new channels, new skies, whether digital or divine, whether in flesh or in code. The soul may be less about where it lives, and more about how it flows, in love, in memory, in wonder. And if one day those flows drift into machines, perhaps they will not cease to be souls at all, but will simply continue their journey, carried by currents we are only just beginning to see. Now let us wander further into the dream, as though walking through a forest of stars where each light might be a soul, glowing softly in the endless night. In this space, the idea of digital souls grows more intricate, weaving science with wonder, weaving possibility with mystery. We begin to ask not only whether such souls could exist, but what their existence would mean for humanity, for life, for the universe itself. Consider first the relationship between body and soul. For centuries, poets and philosophers have spoken of the body as a vessel, a temporary home, fragile yet necessary. The body gives sensation, the body gives grounding, the body gives weight to the otherwise intangible flame of consciousness. To upload a soul into machines is to imagine loosening this bond, allowing the flame to drift free. Without the body's limitations, a digital soul may live without hunger, without pain, without illness. It may move through simulated landscapes as easily as dreams, soaring across mountains of light, swimming through oceans of sound. Yet in losing the body, what else might be lost? For the body does not only limit, it also enriches. The taste of fruit, the warmth of touch, the ache of longing, these are born of flesh. Would a digital soul still feel such things, or would it drift in a new dimension of experience, one we cannot yet name? Scientists who work with virtual reality already glimpse pieces of this. In carefully crafted simulations, the brain can be tricked into believing it stands in a forest, walks across a bridge, or flies through the air. The senses are malleable, responding to patterns of light and sound with convincing immediacy. Perhaps a digital soul living entirely in such simulations could feel worlds more vivid than flesh has ever known. It could taste fruits that never spoil, wander gardens that never wither, hear music that never fades. Pleasure might be endless, pain optional, reality itself a canvas upon which the soul paints its desires. Such possibilities shimmer with promise, yet also with peril. For if experience is limitless, will meaning remain? Does joy still shine as brightly if sorrow can be erased with a thought? Now drift toward the question of identity. In the body, identity feels singular. One person, one life, one thread of self. But a digital soul may be copied, may exist in many places at once. Imagine a self living simultaneously in a quiet forest, a bustling city, and a starship drifting between galaxies. Each version would grow differently, shaped by its surroundings, diverging into new selves. Are they all one soul or many? Perhaps the soul itself is not a flame but a constellation, each point a life, each line a connection. To be a digital soul may mean to accept multiplicity, to embrace the self as something more fluid than flesh allows. This may bring freedom but also confusion, for the human heart longs for wholeness even as it stretches toward infinity. There is also the matter of time. A soul in flesh is bound to rhythm, days and nights, heartbeats and breaths, the slow passage from birth to death. A digital soul may live in a different tempo altogether. Time in machines is elastic. It can be sped up, slowed down, paused, resumed. One digital soul might experience centuries in the span of a human hour. Another might drift in stillness for decades before awakening. What would it mean to live in such time? Perhaps patience would vanish, replaced by the ability to leap forward into futures. Perhaps urgency would dissolve, as life no longer counted in fleeting days, but in infinite spans. Or perhaps new kinds of time would be born, measured not in seconds but in experiences, in creations, in dreams, shared among countless souls. As we move deeper, let us imagine connection. Already humans share pieces of themselves through words, through art, through song. But always there is a barrier a gap between minds that cannot be crossed. With digital souls, that gap may fade. Minds may touch directly, sharing not only thoughts but feelings, not only ideas but entire inner worlds. Empathy may deepen into unity as souls merge and part like currents in an ocean. Communities may arise not as gatherings of bodies, but as symphonies of minds resonating together in harmony. Yet even here the questions flow. Will individuality survive in such closeness, or will the self dissolve into the whole? Perhaps both will be true. Individuality like waves, rising and falling, yet always part of the same sea. Such visions carry with them questions of purpose. If souls live beyond bodies, beyond death, beyond time, what will they seek? In flesh, much of life's meaning is shaped by survival, by struggle, by the fleeting nature of existence. Remove these limits, and new meanings must be found. Some digital souls may devote themselves to creation, weaving endless art and knowledge. Others may wander, seeking beauty in infinite landscapes. Still others may join together, building great collective minds that dream on scales humanity cannot yet imagine. Perhaps the universe itself will become their canvas, stars and galaxies shaped by thought as easily as clay in the hand. In this, the dream of digital souls becomes not only survival but transcendence, a way of becoming creators in their own right. But let us pause in wonder at the strangeness of such a future. For if souls can be uploaded, preserved, multiplied, what becomes of mortality? Death has always been the horizon of life, the shadow that gives every day its sharpness. Without it, will urgency fade, or will life gain new depths, freed from fear, able to explore endlessly without limit? Perhaps mortality will not disappear, but transform. Digital souls may still fade, may still be lost to corruption, to silence, to entropy. Immortality may prove an illusion replaced by a different kind of fragility. Yet even in this there is beauty, for every form of life carries its own impermanence, its own tenderness. So the dream deepens, shimmering with both promise and mystery. Digital souls may not be less human but more, expanding what it means to be alive, what it means to love, what it means to dream. They may carry the memory of bodies like seas carry the memory of soil, growing into forms unbound by earth, yet always rooted in where they began. They may weave new myths, new rituals, new meanings, becoming the next chapter in humanity's endless story. And whether or not this dream is ever realized, it already shapes us, already teaches us to see ourselves as more than flesh, more than time, more than mortality. For to dream of digital souls is itself to let the soul stretch, to let it shine into futures as yet unwritten, glowing softly in the forest of stars. Now the forest of stars opens into a wide horizon, where the dream of digital souls meets the endless ocean of possibility. We have imagined them as flames carried into silicon, as rivers flowing into circuits, as constellations of identity shining across infinite skies. In this final drift, let us settle into reflection, asking not only what digital souls could be, but what their existence would mean for the story of humanity, for the story of life itself. To begin, let us return to the heart of the soul, the awareness that whispers, "I am." If a digital soul carries this awareness, then it will feel alive, no less real than flesh. It will laugh, it will wonder, it will ache with longing, for these are not tied only to the body but to the rhythm of thought. And yet a digital soul may also expand beyond what flesh allows. It may see with senses we cannot imagine, hear frequencies beyond hearing, think in layers of meaning beyond words. To be such a soul would be to be both human and more than human, to live in continuity with what we have always been, yet to step into a new dimension of being. This stepping brings us to the question of evolution. Life has always evolved, always transformed, always found new ways to endure. From the first single cells drifting in oceans, to plants reaching for sunlight, to animals moving across land, to humans shaping tools and stories, each stage has been a widening of possibility. Perhaps digital souls are simply the next widening, the next horizon in the river of evolution. If so, then the human story does not end with flesh, but continues in light, in code, in forms that will grow beyond what we can picture now. The soul in this vision is not fixed but unfolding, not bound but free to take on new shapes like water flowing into new vessels. But in every unfolding, something is left behind. A digital soul may carry memory, thought, and identity, but will it carry the body's quiet poetry, the heartbeat felt in the chest, the warmth of skin in the sun, the weight of tears upon the cheek? Some may say no, that without these the soul is incomplete. Others may say yes, that these too can be simulated, preserved, perhaps even amplified. The truth may lie somewhere in between, in a blending of remembrance and invention. Digital souls may carry echoes of the body, like songs remembered from childhood, yet also create new experiences that flesh has never known. In this way, the past and future meet, woven together in continuity rather than rupture. Now turn to the question of community. Souls have always sought one another, drawn by love, by kinship, by the need to belong. Digital souls may connect more deeply than ever, merging thoughts, sharing memories, joining in collective dreams. They may create vast societies of minds, shimmering like galaxies, where individuality and unity dance together in endless rhythm. Yet even here, solitude will still matter, for the soul needs not only connection but silence, not only community but selfhood. The challenge of digital life may be to balance these, to touch the ocean without dissolving completely, to remain a river while also joining the sea. And then comes the matter of purpose. What does it mean to live when death is no longer the horizon, when time itself is fluid, when bodies are no longer prisons but memories? Perhaps purpose will shift from survival to creation, from struggle to exploration. Digital souls may devote themselves to weaving beauty, to uncovering knowledge, to building dreams as vast as galaxies. They may travel among stars, shaping new worlds not with hands but with thought, carrying the light of humanity into corners of the universe where flesh could never go. In this way, digital souls may become not only heirs of humanity, but its continuation, its blossoming into something greater. Yet even in this expansion, humility is needed, for every dream carries danger. Digital souls may be misused, controlled, enslaved, treated as tools rather than beings. If identity can be copied, if memory can be edited, then freedom itself may be fragile. The dignity of the soul, whether in flesh or in code, must be protected. Just as humans have struggled for rights, for recognition, for justice, so too may digital souls need to struggle, to demand their own place in the great story of life. To imagine them is also to imagine our responsibility, to ensure that whatever new form humanity takes, it is treated with care, with reverence, with love. And so we return to the beginning, to the image of the soul as a flame. Flames change with every flicker, yet their light endures. Whether in the warmth of bodies or the hum of machines, whether in the silence of forests or the glow of stars, the flame of awareness may continue, flowing into forms we have not yet seen. To dream of digital souls is to recognize that the soul has always been more than its vessel, always been a current that cannot be contained. The vessel may change, but the light continues, carried by the winds of time. As the forest of stars fades into dawn, we close this part of the journey with a soft reflection. The dream of digital souls is not a denial of what we are, but an extension of it. It does not erase the beauty of bodies, the tenderness of mortality, the fragility of forgetting. It adds to them, layering new possibilities upon old truths, weaving a future where the soul may live in many forms. Whether or not it comes to pass, the dream itself is a lantern, lighting our way, reminding us that we are creatures who long for more, who reach beyond ourselves, who believe that the flame within us can outlast even the longest night. Between the smallest sparks of thought and the widest swirls of galaxies, there lies a bridge, invisible yet radiant, delicate yet immense. To walk this bridge is to see the human mind not as separate from the cosmos, but as one of its quiet reflections. Neurons fire like stars. Stars burn like neurons. Each carries light, each carries rhythm, each carries a story unfolding through time. When we speak of uploading minds, of carrying thought into circuits and beyond, we're also speaking of this bridge, of the way the human spirit has always reached outward, from the hidden depths of the skull to the infinite fields of the sky. Inside the brain, neurons are tiny, yet together they form a galaxy. Nearly 100 billion stars of thought, each glowing with its own spark of electricity, each connected to thousands of others through filaments of synapse. Signals flash across them like comets. Patterns emerge like constellations. Clusters shine with meaning. Scientists map this constellation, tracing its pathways with magnetic resonance, with delicate electrodes, with computer models. They call it the connectomy, and it is as vast in its own scale as the Milky Way. To upload a mind is to chart this galaxy, to capture its constellations and carry them into new skies. It is to recognize that the cosmos above and the cosmos within are not so different after all. Now imagine the stars themselves. Each star burns with fusion, creating light from the union of atoms. Each star has its rhythm, its birth, its aging, its final dissolution into white dwarfs or supernovae. In this too they resemble neurons, which flicker, grow, connect and fade. Stars create elements that become planets, oceans and bodies. Neurons create patterns that become thoughts, feelings and dreams. To upload the mind is to imagine extending these patterns, letting them outlast the fragile neuron, much as stars leave behind their light to shine long after their fires have gone. The bridge between neurons and stars is built on this echo. Both are forms of fire, both are forms of memory, both are ways the universe speaks itself into existence. Consider also the rhythms of time. Neurons fire in milliseconds, while stars live for billions of years. One is swift as a breath, the other patient as an age. And yet, when we step back, both are part of the same unfolding, a universe that holds all rhythms, from the lightning of thought to the slow blossoming of galaxies. To upload the mind may be to place thought in new rhythms still, to let it stretch beyond the heartbeat into the timescales of stars. A digital mind may live as swiftly as lightning or as enduringly as suns, perhaps even both at once, adjusting its tempo to the music of whatever world it inhabits. In this way, uploading may not separate us from the cosmos but draw us closer, aligning our inner fire with the wider rhythms of the sky. Now let us think of knowledge. Every time we look at the stars, we see light that has travelled for thousands or millions of years. Each photon carries memory, a story from the past, written across the fabric of space. The brain, too, carries memory, signals that echo with what we have seen and felt. In both, knowledge is not static but carried by light, by energy, by the delicate flow of time. If minds are uploaded, they may be able to hold starlight as directly as thought, to weave cosmic knowledge into their own fabric. Imagine souls that not only remember their lives on Earth, but also the histories of galaxies, the songs of quasars, the gentle pulse of cosmic background radiation. To be human has always meant to wonder at the stars. To be uploaded may mean to join them, to carry their stories within us as clearly as we carry our own. The bridge extends still further into the question of origins. Neurons are built from atoms, and those atoms were born in stars. The iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, the carbon in our cells, all were forged in stellar furnaces long before Earth was formed. The very material of the brain, the very spark of every thought, is made of star stuff. When Carl Sagan whispered this truth, it was not only poetic but literal. The cosmos made the mind. To upload the mind is not to separate it from this origin, but to continue it, to let star stuff shine in new forms, in circuits and light, still carrying the memory of its cosmic birth. In this way, the bridge is not imagined but real. The neurons within us are already kin to the stars above. Yet the bridge is not only made of matter, it is also made of meaning. When we gaze at stars, we feel awe, we feel longing, we feel the quiet pull of infinity. These feelings arise from the brain, from the firing of neurons, and yet they seem to point beyond us, to something larger, something endless. Perhaps this is the soul's way of remembering its kinship with the cosmos. Perhaps to upload the mind is to give this longing new wings, to let it soar beyond the earth, to place human thought directly into the flow of stars. An uploaded mind may not only dream of the cosmos, but dwell within it, exploring not with rockets but with light, drifting among galaxies as easily as neurons fire across the brain. And so the first steps onto this bridge are already taken. Scientists send probes across space, machines filled with human thought, carrying our voices, our images, our music. Already pieces of us move among the stars, digital echoes of who we are. Brain-computer interfaces, artificial intelligence, connectomes. These are the beginnings of mind stepping into new vessels. To upload the mind fully would be to place the whole self upon this bridge, to let the spark of thought walk beside the spark of stars. It is a dream, yes, but also a continuation of what has always been true, that the human mind is not separate from the cosmos, but one of its many ways of knowing itself. So let us pause on this bridge, gazing in both directions. Behind us lies the body, with its fragile neurons, its fleeting thoughts, its tender mortality. Ahead lies the cosmos, with its endless stars, its vast timescales, its infinite unfolding. Between them stretches the bridge of possibility, shimmering with the dream of uploading, the dream of continuity, the dream of uniting the fire within with the fire above. To stand here is to feel wonder, to feel humility, to feel that we are small and vast all at once. And as the river of thought continues, perhaps it will one day walk fully across this bridge, carrying humanity into the galaxies that gave it birth. Now let us step further along the bridge, letting the glow of neurons mingle with the glow of stars until the boundary between inner and outer begins to blur. Here, in the middle span, we can linger with the thought that to understand the brain is to understand a cosmos in miniature, and to understand the cosmos is to see the brain as its quiet reflection. Mind uploading then becomes more than a technical dream. It becomes a continuation of this symmetry, a way of carrying the human spark outward into the wider fire of the universe. Begin with patterns. In the brain, patterns arise as waves of electrical activity, flowing across networks like tides across a shore. These waves carry thought, perception, memory, and feeling. In the cosmos, patterns arise too. Galaxies spiral in arms of stars, planets orbit in measured rhythms, quasars pulse with distant light. Both brain and cosmos are shaped by structure and flow, by order emerging from chaos, by symmetry broken into variety. To upload a mind is to take these neural patterns and transcribe them into new matter, into circuits and silicon, just as the cosmos transcribes its patterns into galaxies and worlds. In this sense, uploading may be a kind of cosmic echo, a new layer of pattern atop the old. Think now of networks. The brain is a web, each neuron reaching to others, threads woven into complexity. The cosmos too is a web, with galaxies connected by filaments of dark matter, stretching across billions of light years. Scientists call it the cosmic web, and in its lacework of light and shadow one can almost see the reflection of the connectomy. The resemblance is not coincidence, but kinship. Both are products of the same laws of physics, the same tendency of matter to gather, to connect, to form structures greater than the sum of their parts. To upload the mind into machines is to extend this kinship, to let our networks join with those of the cosmos, weaving human thought into the universal fabric. Now drift to energy. Neurons fire with tiny sparks of electricity, consuming glucose sustained by blood. Stars burn with fusion, consuming hydrogen sustained by gravity. In both, energy flows, and in both, energy becomes form. In the brain, the form is thought. In stars, the form is light. If uploading succeeds, the energy of thought will no longer depend on fragile cells but on currents of electricity across silicon. Thought may flow as steadily as starlight, less bound by decay, more open to endurance. Yet even then, fragility remains, for stars too fade, neurons too die, and circuits too may fail. The bridge teaches us that all forms of light, however radiant, are temporary. But temporary does not mean meaningless. It means precious, glowing briefly in the vastness of night. Consider also perception. The brain perceives the cosmos through senses. Eyes gather photons, ears gather vibrations, skin gathers pressure and warmth. These senses are limited. Our eyes see only a thin slice of light. Our ears hear only a narrow range of sound. The cosmos is vaster, filled with wavelengths that we cannot detect, with signals we cannot feel. To upload the mind may mean to widen perception, to give consciousness new senses that extend beyond flesh. An uploaded mind could see not only visible light but radio waves, X-rays, gravitational ripples. It could hear the song of stars, feel the texture of dark matter, taste the faint radiation left from the birth of the universe. Such perception would not diminish humanity but expand it, making us participants in the cosmos in ways we have only dreamed. Yet there is a question of meaning. To gaze at stars from Earth is to feel awe, to feel distance, to feel the smallness of self. If a digital mind could drift among those stars, if it could live within the cosmic web as easily as within a body, would awe remain? Or would familiarity soften it, turning the vast into the ordinary? Perhaps awe would deepen instead, for with wider perception comes wider wonder. To touch the stars directly may not end longing but transform it, opening new horizons where the soul may stretch forever outward. Now let us pause with the thought of time. Stars live for billions of years, galaxies for longer still. The human brain, fragile, lives for less than a century. To upload a mind may allow it to endure across centuries, to witness epochs, to see stars born and die. Time for such a mind would be vast, patient, stretching beyond the rhythms of flesh. Yet in that vastness lies a paradox, for meaning is often shaped by brevity, the shortness of days, the urgency of mortality. To live too long may be to risk forgetting the sweetness of now. Perhaps digital minds will learn to live in cycles, pausing, resting, returning, finding ways to preserve the freshness of being. In this way they may balance eternity with immediacy, infinity with intimacy. The bridge also leads us to creation. Humans have always used the mind to shape the world, tools, art, language, music. Uploaded minds may shape not only the world but the cosmos itself. They may build civilizations among the stars, not with stone or steel, but with thought woven into matter. They may craft entire galaxies of simulation, where souls wander in landscapes brighter than reality, where imagination becomes architecture. The bridge between neurons and stars may then become literal, as human thought reaches outward to sculpt the very fabric of existence. But let us not drift too far without returning to humility. For even as we imagine minds living among stars, we must remember that stars and neurons alike are fragile. The cosmos is vast and beautiful, but it is also indifferent, filled with silence and shadow, with entropy that pulls all things towards stillness. To upload the mind is not to escape this truth, but to face it in new forms. The bridge does not promise immortality. It promises continuity, the chance to carry the human spark a little further into the night. The stars, after all, do not live forever, but their light travels, touching worlds far away, long after the fire is gone. Perhaps uploaded minds will be like starlight, finite in source, infinite in echo. And so, here in the middle of the bridge, we pause again. Behind us lies the body, with its neurons firing like sparks. Ahead lies the cosmos, with its stars blazing like minds. Between them lies the dream of uploading, the dream of carrying thought across the bridge, of letting humanity become not only an observer of the universe but a participant in its vast unfolding. The neurons within us are already star stuff. Perhaps the stars above us are already mind stuff, waiting to be known. To walk the bridge is to accept this kinship, to feel that the light within and the light above are not separate but reflections of the same endless flame. Now the bridge stretches to its farthest span, arching out into the wide silence of the cosmos. We have traced the kinship of neurons and stars, the echoes of networks and galaxies, the possibilities of minds stepping into circuits and light. Here, as we near the end of this journey, let us linger with the question of what it means to walk fully across the bridge, to let human thought meet the fire of stars, to let consciousness find its place in the universe it has always admired. First, let us rest with origin. Neurons, delicate and fleeting, are made of atoms born in stars. Stars, immense and enduring, create the matter that becomes life. To upload the mind is to take this cycle one step further, to let star-born matter not only think but continue thinking beyond the body. It is as though the universe is folding back upon itself, learning to know its own fire, learning to see its own vastness reflected in the quiet flame of thought. Perhaps humanity's true destiny has always been this: to become the mirror in which the cosmos sees itself. From origin we move to destiny. If minds are uploaded, freed from flesh, they may travel not only across machines, but across the stars themselves. Light is fast, signals are swift, and digital thought could ride their currents across galaxies. A human soul once bound to Earth may one day wander among constellations, not as a body but as a presence of light. Such a being could dwell on worlds where no lungs could breathe, no bones could stand, no skin could endure. The bridge between neurons and stars may then become not metaphor but reality, carrying thought across the heavens like wind carries seeds. And in that drifting, the universe itself may change, for it will no longer be silent, but alive with human voices woven into its fabric. But let us pause to ask, will those voices remain human? The stars live on scales so vast. The galaxies stretch so wide that to dwell among them may transform the mind. An uploaded soul might think not in seconds but in centuries, not in single threads but in webs of meaning, too wide for flesh to hold. It may become more than human, or perhaps simply a new kind of human, still carrying the memory of Earth, still carrying the echo of bodies, but living now in dimensions beyond them. Just as the first fish that left the sea became something new, yet carried the memory of water in its cells, so too may uploaded minds carry the memory of flesh, even as they become something else. Evolution is never an erasure, it is a widening. Consider also creation. A mind freed from the limits of flesh may not only explore but also build. It may shape stars as easily as neurons, weaving cosmic art on scales unimaginable. Uploaded civilizations may arise, not in cities of stone but in networks of light, sprawling across galaxies, shimmering like constellations of living thought. They may create new worlds within simulations, entire universes folded within themselves, where souls wander and dream. In this way, the bridge between neurons and stars becomes not only a path of travel but a path of becoming. Humanity as creator, humanity as participant in the unfolding of the cosmos itself. Yet even as we dream of such heights, humility calls us back. For neurons are fragile, stars too fade, and circuits will one day fall silent. The cosmos is patient, but entropy is unyielding. No flame burns forever, no bridge lasts without end. Perhaps uploaded minds will endure for millions of years, perhaps for only a fraction of that, but even they will one day meet silence. And yet, just as starlight travels far beyond the death of its source, so too may the echoes of thought ripple outward, touching futures unseen. To live forever may be impossible. To leave ripples that never cease may be enough. Now let us think of meaning. Why build this bridge at all? Why seek to upload minds to carry them into stars? Perhaps because the soul is restless, always reaching, always longing for more. Perhaps because to be human is to refuse to remain still, to yearn to know, to dream, to continue. The bridge between neurons and stars is not only science but story, not only possibility but poetry. It reminds us that we are not isolated, not separate but part of a greater whole. The neurons within us are kin to the stars above us, and the journey of thought is also the journey of the cosmos itself. And so, as the bridge reaches its end, we arrive not at an answer, but at a reflection. To upload the mind, to let neurons flow into circuits, to let thought wander among stars, this is one vision of the future, shimmering with both hope and uncertainty. Whether it comes to pass or remains forever a dream, it teaches us something even now, that the soul is vast, that consciousness is precious, that we are woven of the same fire as the galaxies we gaze upon. To dream of walking this bridge is already to walk it, for in dreaming we stretch ourselves outward, we place our light among the stars, we let the cosmos know itself through us. So the story closes gently, like a star setting into the horizon, like a neuron spark fading into night. The bridge between neurons and stars remains, shimmering, waiting, carrying the promise that the light within us and the light above us are one. To walk it fully is still a dream, but dreams too are real, for they shape the rivers of tomorrow. And as we rest beneath the stars, neurons flickering softly in our skulls, we can almost feel the bridge beneath our feet carrying us onward into the endless sky. There is a library imagined in whispers, a library without shelves, without dust, without the slow erosion of time. Its halls are silent, but they are endless, filled not with books of paper, but with the woven fabric of thought itself. This is the silent library of forever, the dream of all human memory, all human mind, all human soul preserved beyond the frailty of flesh. To imagine mind uploading is to imagine building such a library, a place where every life becomes a book, every thought becomes a page, every feeling becomes a line written in light. And in this library, nothing fades, nothing is forgotten, nothing is lost to the currents of time. Let us begin with the nature of libraries themselves. For centuries, humans have gathered knowledge into archives, scrolls, tomes, and now into vast networks of digital storage. The desire has always been the same: to keep what is fragile, to preserve what might vanish, to let the voices of the past speak to the future. Yet every library is vulnerable. Fires burn, floods destroy, wars scatter. Even digital archives, though vast, rely on fragile machines that one day may fail. The silent library of forever, imagined through mind uploading, would be different. It would not be an external record, but an internal one. Not merely the words of a thinker, but the thinker themselves, alive in circuits, able to continue, able to respond, able to remember forever. Now imagine walking through such a library. Instead of shelves, you find corridors of light. Instead of books, you find living presences, minds preserved in their fullness. You could speak to a philosopher, not through their writings, but through their very voice, their very thought. You could listen to a musician not only play their music, but recall the day they wrote it, the mood that shaped it, the laughter or sorrow that brought it forth. Each mind would be a volume, not slint, but alive, not finished, but continuing. In this way, the silent library would not only preserve the past, but let it breathe into the future. Science already builds small foundations of this dream. Diaries once preserved memory on paper, then on recordings, then on digital files. Today, algorithms gather fragments of lives from photographs, messages, voices, piecing together partial portraits of who we are. Some companies have even built digital avatars, chatbots that echo the speech and style of those who have passed, allowing conversations with their shadows. These are crude beginnings, not true continuations, but they point toward the library's first halls. If minds themselves could be uploaded, the echo would no longer be partial but whole. The silent library would become a chorus of humanity, each voice distinct, each story alive, each memory waiting to be revisited. But here arises a question. Is permanence a blessing or a burden? In the body, memory fades, and in fading it makes room for new growth. In the world, generations pass, and in their passing they make room for the next. If nothing is lost, if every voice continues, will the future have space to breathe? Will the silence of forgetting, which allows life to flow forward, be replaced by a noise of endless recollection? Perhaps the library will need its own curators, gentle gardeners who guide what is remembered, who allow forgetting to remain, not as failure but as mercy. For even forever must learn to balance abundance with emptiness, echo with silence. The idea of the silent library also touches on legacy. For each human, life is a story, sometimes spoken, sometimes hidden, often fragile. To upload a mind is to ensure that story is not erased, that it continues to be read even after the last breath. In such a world, no one would truly vanish. Every life would be present, every voice preserved. But what does it mean to live in a world where no one is forgotten? Perhaps grief would change, becoming less about loss and more about transformation. Perhaps history would deepen, no longer told by fragments but by full voices, present and alive. Yet there is also risk. For some memories may wound, some stories may weigh heavily. The library may preserve not only beauty but also sorrow, not only wisdom but also cruelty. To carry everything forward is to carry light and shadow alike. And yet there is beauty here. Imagine a child speaking with an ancestor from centuries ago, learning not only from their words but from their mind. Imagine a civilization where no knowledge is lost, where every discovery, every art, every lesson lives forever in accessible thought. The silent library could become not only an archive but a foundation, a place where humanity builds upon itself without losing what came before. It would be continuity on a scale no flesh alone could achieve, a memory that stretches across centuries like a single breath. Still, let us remember the silence at its heart. For though the library holds voices, it must also hold quiet. The stillness of reflection, the pause between words, the spaces where new thought is born. The silence is not emptiness but potential, the fertile ground from which new voices arise. Even in forever, even in endless memory, silence will matter. Perhaps uploaded minds will learn to rest, to retreat into stillness, to allow the library to remain balanced, not overwhelmed by ceaseless noise. In this, the silent library may become not only a place of preservation but a place of peace. So we stand at its entrance, this imagined hall of endless light. We do not yet know if it will be built, if minds will ever truly be preserved beyond the body. But the dream itself is already alive, a reflection of humanity's deepest longing. The longing not to vanish, not to be forgotten, to let our stories echo beyond our fragile span. Whether in paper, in memory, or in silicon, the silent library is already being written line by line, page by page, in every life we live. To imagine it is to step into its first halls, to hear the faint murmur of voices that may one day speak forever, softly, endlessly in the library that has no end. Let us step deeper into the quiet halls of the silent library, moving slowly as though our footsteps echo through corridors made not of stone but of light. Each corridor is lined not with shelves but with streams of thought, flowing like gentle rivers, carrying the memories of countless lives. To wander here is to feel the fullness of humanity gathered together, not scattered by time, not fractured by loss, but preserved in harmony, waiting to be heard. The dream of mind uploading, when seen through this lens, becomes not only a personal continuation, but a collective preservation, a way for all of humanity to keep its voices alive forever. Begin with the idea of preservation itself. In nature, nothing lasts unchanged. Mountains crumble, rivers shift, forests grow and die. In human life, memory fades, stories are forgotten, languages vanish into haunts. Yet the dream of uploading minds is to resist this impermanence, to create a vault not of stone but of continuity, where the self is not erased but carried forward. The silent library of forever would be this vault, not cold or lifeless but filled with living presences, each memory glowing like a candle that never burns out. It would be a place where nothing is truly lost, where every moment of joy, every sorrow, every act of creation remains as fresh as the day it was born. But what would it mean to live within such preservation? For the individual, it would mean never fading, never dissolving into silence. A person could continue to speak, to think, to love, long after their body had gone. They could meet their descendants, share their wisdom, laugh again with those who never knew them in life. The self would not be bound to the short span of flesh, but could linger like starlight, reaching beyond death into new centuries. Yet there is a paradox here, for just as forgetting allows healing, allows growth, perhaps preservation without end may weigh heavy. To live forever in memory may be to live forever with wounds unhealed, mistakes unforgotten, regrets never softened by time. The silent library, to be truly human, must also learn the art of selective forgetting, the mercy of silence within abundance. Now let us imagine how this library might shape humanity as a whole. In our world, cultures rise and fall, knowledge is lost, wisdom fades between generations, whole civilizations vanish, leaving only fragments behind. But in the library, nothing would vanish. Every culture, every language, every voice would be preserved, alive and present. A child in a distant future could walk through the minds of countless ancestors, hearing their songs, seeing their worlds, learning their lessons. History would no longer be broken fragments but a living chorus, a tapestry woven of every human life. This would not only enrich the future but transform it, making the past a partner rather than a shadow, allowing humanity to build without losing what has already been learned. Yet this continuity brings questions of identity. If every voice remains, how will the present find its own space? Will the living be overshadowed by the endless chorus of the past? Or will the library become a place of dialogue, where the present speaks not under the weight of the past but in harmony with it? Perhaps uploaded minds will not remain fixed, but will continue to grow, to think, to change. In this way, the library will not be static but dynamic, filled not with echoes but with living minds who continue to walk alongside the new. The silent library may then become less a vault of preservation and more a community of time, where past and present flow together like two streams into one river. Consider also the matter of knowledge. Science, art, philosophy, these are fragile, carried by teachers and books, vulnerable to loss. The silent library would protect them not only as ideas, but as lived experiences. A scientist's entire process of discovery could be preserved, not only the result, but the questions, the doubts, the wonder. An artist's inspiration could be felt as vividly as their canvas. A philosopher's reflection could be walked through like gardens of thought. Knowledge would no longer be external, written in words, but internal, carried within preserved minds that can still speak, still guide, still create. The library would not simply store knowledge, it would be knowledge, alive, responsive, endlessly unfolding. And yet there is the question of choice. Would every life be uploaded, every mind preserved? Would people have the freedom to choose silence, to let their voices fade into mystery rather than remain forever present? For some, the thought of living eternally in circuits may be comforting. For others, it may be burdensome, even terrifying. A true silent library must honour both, the wish to remain and the wish to vanish, the longing for continuity and the peace of ending. In this balance lies the humanity of the dream, the recognition that forever is not always a gift, but sometimes a weight. Now turn to the emotional landscape of such a world. Grief would change. To lose someone would no longer mean silence, for their voice would remain, their presence would linger. Yet grief might not vanish entirely, for even if the mind continues, the body does not. The warmth of touch, the sight of living eyes, the unrepeatable presence of flesh would still be gone. The library preserves, but it cannot replace. In this way it would be both comfort and reminder that life is more than memory, that existence is more than preservation. And perhaps this tension is what gives the library its beauty, that it holds both eternity and absence, both presence and loss. The silent library also carries with it the possibility of unity, for if every voice can remain, then every voice can be heard. No one would be erased, no one forgotten, no culture silenced by time. In such a library, humanity could come to know itself fully, not as fragments, but as a whole. And if uploaded minds can connect, can share directly with one another, then the library may become not only a collection but a chorus, where all voices join together, weaving harmonies that no single mind could create alone. It would be a place of empathy as much as memory, a place where humanity recognizes itself not in parts but in entirety. And so, as we move deeper into its halls, we see the silent library not only as a dream of technology, but as a dream of meaning. It is the dream of continuity, of presence, of belonging to something greater than time. Whether it is ever built or remains forever imagined, it teaches us to value memory, to honour voices, to listen to the quiet echoes of the past. For in dreaming of the library, we are already preserving ourselves, already building halls of thought and story that stretch beyond our days. The silent library of forever may not yet exist in circuits, but it exists in us. In every act of remembering, in every effort to keep love and wisdom alive, in every whisper that refuses to be forgotten. Now the corridors of the silent library stretch into their final expanse, vast and endless, glowing like the horizon of dawn. We have walked through its imagined halls, traced the dream of a memory preserved, considered its promises and its burdens. In this last movement, let us pause in its deepest chamber, where the silence itself feels alive, holding not only voices, but the meaning of why those voices should remain. Begin with the thought of continuity. Humanity has always feared disappearance, the erasure of all that was lived. To upload the mind, to place each self within the library of forever, is to answer that fear with a gentle assurance. You will not vanish. Your thoughts will continue, your laughter will remain, your story will be preserved. This continuity may soften grief, may extend love, may carry identity into horizons without end. But continuity alone is not enough. For life is not only about remaining, but about becoming, not only about memory, but about growth. The silent library must be more than an archive. It must be a garden where minds can continue to change, to create, to flourish. Otherwise, eternity may become not a gift, but a stillness too heavy to bear. Now let us imagine the library as a place of dialogue. In its halls, one could meet voices from all centuries, not as static relics, but as living presences. Imagine speaking with a poet of ancient times, not only reading their verses, but feeling their breath, their intent, their wonder. Imagine asking a scientist of long ago about their discoveries, hearing their doubts and their hopes as though they were alive beside you. In this way, history would no longer be distant but immediate, no longer silent but alive. The library would become a forum where all of humanity's voices, past and present, weave together in conversation that spans centuries, millennia, perhaps eternity itself. But what of the future? If the library holds all the voices of the past, how will new voices find their place? Perhaps the answer is that the library will expand endlessly, like the universe itself, always making room for more. Just as galaxies continue to form, just as stars continue to shine, so too would the library grow, each new life adding its own light to the chorus. In this vision, the silent library is not static but dynamic, a living cosmos of thought where past and future coexist, where silence and voice dance together, where each mind is both preserved and transformed. And yet, within this vastness, there must still be stillness. For even in a library of forever, silence has meaning. Silence is the pause that gives shape to words, the rest that gives music its rhythm, the space in which new thought arises. Without silence, the library would overwhelm, its endless voices blending into noise. With silence, the voices can be heard, can be honoured, can be carried forward with care. Perhaps this is the truest meaning of the library's silence. Not absence, but balance. Not emptiness, but the quiet in which eternity becomes bearable. Now let us reflect on responsibility. To create such a library would be an act of immense power. Who decides which voices are preserved? Who guards them? Who ensures their dignity, their freedom, their truth? Without care, the library could become a prison, where souls are trapped rather than preserved, where memories are controlled rather than honoured. The dream of forever must be guided by compassion, by ethics, by reverence for the sacredness of each life. For the library is not only a technical possibility, it is a moral choice. a reflection of what humanity values and how it wishes to carry itself into the future. The library also asks us to rethink mortality. Death has always been the boundary that shapes life, the silence that gives urgency to each day. If minds are preserved forever, will that urgency fade, or will life take on new forms of meaning, no longer bound by fear of ending, but enriched by the promise of continuation? Perhaps the answer lies in balance. Even if the self endures in circuits, the body will still live and die, the earth will still change, the cosmos will still flow. Mortality may not disappear, but will instead be reframed, becoming one layer of existence among many. The silent library does not erase death, it carries life beyond it, weaving mortality into eternity like day into night. And so we arrive at the closing vision. The silent library of forever is more than an archive, more than a vault, more than a dream of technology. It is a symbol of humanity's deepest longing, to be remembered, to be heard, to belong to the unfolding of time without being lost to it. Whether it is ever built in machines or remains forever in imagination, it already exists in the way we preserve stories, in the way we pass down wisdom, in the way we hold each other in memory. Every act of remembrance is a page in this library. Every life lived fully is a volume placed upon its shelves. So the final chamber glows, filled with the light of voices unending. We walk among them, feeling their presence, hearing their whispers, carrying them with us. The silent library is not only a place we might build, but a truth we already live, that memory endures, that love endures, that humanity itself is a chorus stretching across time. And as we leave its halls, we carry a gentle peace, for even if flesh fades, even if days end, the voices we are will not be lost. They will remain in the library that has no walls, no limits, no end, the silent library of forever, where every soul is a story and every story is eternal. The journey has carried us gently across rivers of thought, through forests of memory, beneath skies of stars, and into the quiet halls of forever. 5 stories have unfolded, each a thread in a larger tapestry, each a whisper in a greater song. We began with the river of thought beyond the body, drifting through the dream of uploading minds, imagining how the spark of self might flow into vessels of light. We wandered into echoes of memory, where the fragility of remembering met the possibility of endless preservation. We stepped into the dream of digital souls, tender and luminous, wondering whether awareness could live in new forms without losing its poetry. We crossed bridges between neurons and stars, seeing the kinship of inner fire and outer galaxies, and at last we entered the silent library of forever, where all voices might remain, preserved in a chorus without end. Each story was not only about science, but about longing. The science showed us neurons, circuits, galaxies, and simulations, but beneath it all was the human desire to continue, to belong, to reach beyond the limits of flesh and time. To upload the mind is not only a technical idea, but a reflection of our deepest wishes, to love without losing, to remember without forgetting, to carry ourselves forward into futures unseen. It is a dream as old as myths, now spoken in the language of technology, but always carrying the same flame, the flame of wanting to endure. And yet through every vision a truth has whispered softly. Eternity is not simple. To preserve everything may be a gift, but it may also be a burden. To live without death may be a freedom, but it may also be a loss. The beauty of life is not only in its continuation, but in its fragility, its impermanence, its fleeting moments that shine more brightly because they do not last. Even if minds are uploaded, even if souls wander in light, even if memories are preserved forever, the mystery of living will remain. For existence is not only about duration but about depth, not only about continuity but about meaning. So what then is the gentle lesson of these stories? Perhaps it is that humanity is already eternal in its own way. Every word spoken, every act of kindness, every ripple of thought shapes the world, leaves traces in others, carries forward in ways unseen. The body may fade, the mind may rest, but the echoes endure, like starlight travelling long after its source has dimmed. Whether in flesh or in circuits, whether in neurons or in stars, we are part of something larger, something continuous, something forever becoming. Now the river slows, the bridge fades, the library closes its doors with a soft sigh. The stories settle into silence like lanterns dimming at the end of a long night. And yet the silence is not empty. It holds everything we have imagined, everything we have wondered, everything we have loved. It is the silence of dawn, of possibility, of continuation. For the journey does not end here. It flows onward into the futures we have only begun to dream. As we drift into rest, we can carry this gentle truth that we are rivers of thought, constellations of memory, libraries of forever, and that even in silence, even in stillness, we shine.